Let's try to ease into this, not get too overwhelmed, understand that it's data mined and it doesn't necessarily represent what will be in the game. It doesn't necessarily like make sense on like where these things fit and whatnot. But let's ease into it. These are warrior data mine spell changes and talent tree speculation in Dragonflight Alpha. We are logged into the alpha right now, so we're gonna do some Drakthir stuff in a bit, but we're gonna go through this this Wowhead thing. So they posted only 12 minutes ago. My squishy. Okay. Let's see. Should I turn off my why am I getting notifications for beta? I don't know. It's popping up though. Anyway. So, intro disclaimers. In data mining the first Dragonflight Alpha build, we discovered many spells have requires warrior in the tooltip. We believe that these are the spells that will be in the Dragonflight warrior talent tree. That makes sense. As many of them are spells from previous expansions. You might want to fix this typo. It says pervious expansions. That have been recreated. Warriors in particular have a bunch of passive stat talents that look placeholder, right? The first section goes through the new warrior spells, and since this is data mining, some of these spells may be outdated, may be updated, or flat out removed from in the future. Gotcha. It's likely that some of these will not be talents. We've tried our best to classify these in the general class tree and a spec-specific tree, but some are ambiguous, and we tried our best. Yeah, that completely makes sense, and you'll see why. The second section goes through. I did take it like just a brief look at it. Of course, you can't really help it. The second section goes through base changes through old spells such as base abilities and Azurite traits. Some of the base ability changes could be offset by the talent tree, so don't freak out yet. Okay. In addition, any old data mined abilities that have received updates could also be returning talents as well because they've received changes in Dragonflight. Gotcha. While we don't know for sure, hopefully experience taste of what could be on the Dragonflight Warrior tree. Cool. So, new warrior spells in Dragonflight Alpha. It's called Punishment. Execute is now available on targets who are above 80% health or below 20% health, so that's Condemn, right? And Spear of Bastion. So, throw a spear, it tethers people, generates rage, does damage for 4 seconds. But there's also this piercing verdict business where the instant damage and rage generation are increased. So, out of the Covenant abilities, maybe Punishment and Spear of Bastion are coming back. I think we'll probably see a lot of that. Like, I would expect to see some like Legion artifact abilities coming back. These Covenant abilities coming back. I think that Spear of Bastion is probably like one of the more core warrior abilities, but Condemn is also pretty cool. So we'll see. So, speculated warrior returning Covenant abilities. That's what those were right there. This is new warrior spells, and then these are actually that. I think it's a formatting thing. Okay, so speculated warrior general class talents. So this is like when you're picking your little talents that go down the warrior tree. This is probably like things you'll be able to put like 1, 2, 5 points into, I guess. Is that how the talent tree will work? That's kind of what I imagine. So, first one is Adaptive Teachings. It's just a versatility increase by 2%. Berserker Shout is Berserker Rage. You go Berserker moving, Fear Sap incapacitates, makes you immune to him. Okay. Brutal Vitality. What's a Conduit? Now it's a percent of damage you deal as your active Ignore Pain. That's just like all the time, I guess, right? Critical Thinking increases crit chance by 1%. Cruel Strikes, the same thing, increases crit chance by 1%. Crushing Force, damage of Shield Slam and Slam increased. Interesting. So Slam and Shield Slam by 25%. I'm not going to get too bent out of shape on the numbers because, you know, they'll probably change. But Cacophonous Roar, that's like one of the conduits, right? There's that in the game, sir. Good to see you, man. Thanks for 106, man. Big flex for you. Appreciate it, dude. Thank you, man. Welcome back. This is a long time subbing. Yeah, it's cool to hear the good old WoW tunes. I usually rock it out to my man Berserk, but listen to this now. Welcome back, bro. So concussive blows. The cooldown of Pummel is reduced by 1 second. Successfully interrupting an enemy increases your crit chance by 5% for 10 seconds. This may only occur once every 30 seconds. I remember that, wasn't it called Rude Interruption? Wasn't that from like Kata? You pummeled somebody, you got like more damage? What sort of changes are amazing here exactly? We'll find out, I guess, huh? We'll see. Dauntless Duelist. This is one of those, like, conduit path things, right? The first enemy you damage in combat is marked as your adversary. Yeah, this is one of those things from Venthyr. You'll deal 3% more damage to them, and they deal 1.5% less damage to you. You may only have one adversary at a time. Yeah, that's right straight from the Venthyr tree, right? Remember that one. Okay, so defensive reflexes increases parry by 1%. Deft experience increases mastery by 1%. Dual wield specialization increases your damage while dueling by 5%. Enduring alacrity increases stamina and armor by 5% and your haste by 2%. Then endurance training is stamina by 5%. Okay. So, are you gonna have to spec into execute? These are general class talents, but if it's a talent, then they're suggesting maybe you'll have to spec into it. But once again, this is Datamined, so just because execute, I guess, was Datamined, doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna have to be spec'd into. That'd be interesting though if you means that like Prot could choose it, but also could not choose it. Anyway, you attempt to finish a foe, you know, doing what execute does, doing more damage. But also says only usable on enemies who are above 80% health or below 20% health. So I wonder if punishment will be like I don't think it'll be baseline. Interesting. Anyway, exploit the weakness. Tactician's chance to trigger is increased as if you spent 260% more rage. Okay, interesting. So that suggests that Tactician is going to still be a thing. Whether it's Overpower or whatever else, we'll find out. Fast Footwork movement speed is increased by 4%. Interesting. Focused Vigor is increases strength and armor by 5% and your crit chance by 2%. Okay. This one's interesting. Frenzied Flurry. While using two-handed swords or axes, your critical damage is increased by 100%, and your execute has a 100% chance to crit. So what is that? Sorry, not 100% chance to crit. 100% increased crit chance. Your critical damage is increased. What is that? And Jen says, thanks so much. Welcome back for the 2 months. What is that? Is that going to be like a cooldown? Because it just says while using 200x. I mean, your critical damage being increased by 100% and execute having like a double chance to crit is pretty intense. Oh, you have Impale again. Increases critical damage by 10%. So Impale is back. That's interesting. Furious Blows, damage of Bloodthirst, Slam, and Shield Slam and Whirlwind increased by 10%. Honed Reflexes, cooldown of Pummel, Shield Slam, Overpower, and Bloodthirst reduced by 1 second. So there's like 2 ways to reduce your Pummel cooldown that I can see right now. I wonder if those are going to be like you have to only be able to choose one, or if Pummel's cooldown is going to be longer, or if it's just they're just reducing the cooldown of interrupts. Interesting. So you have Inspiring Presence as a base or as a talent. A Rallying Cry's duration and health are increased. That's a conduit currently. One-handed specialization, Leech increased by 10%, so you could Leech as a Prot Warrior, or maybe even as a single-minded Fury Warrior. Leeching 10% of the damage you deal as Fury would be pretty cool. Overwhelming Rage, your max rage is increased by 30. Okay. Pain in game, when you take damage, you heal for 4.5% of your maximum health. This is basically like it's sort of a conduit. And it was also sort of an Azerite power, right? Interesting. But I mean, 4.5% of your max health is kind of a lot, but only once every 10 seconds ain't that fast, right? Ain't that fast. It's all Datamined, exactly. It's just not really sure. They're moving away from borrowed power is also a great thing. Well, they're just baking some of the cooler borrowed power stuff into your spec. So you just probably need to adjust what you think of as borrowed power. Borrowed power is just a way to have you have cool abilities to use during one expansion or patch that just don't become all core to as expansions move on. But they did seem to take some of the sort of more powerful or popular or cool ones and bake them into your talent tree so you can pick them. But yeah, the whole borrowed power thing is like, part of the deal. Anyway, so you have quick thinking, which is increases haste by 2%. Reinforced armaments increases weapons physical damage by 10%. 10%? But it's only weapons physical damage, right? Yeah, Signet's back. I'll show that to you in a second. Reinforced plates, armor increased by 10%. So seismic reverberations. For Fury, if Whirlwind hits 3 or more enemies, it hits one of them. Or, sorry, it hits them 1 additional time for 100% damage. Same thing with arms, except it hits them 1 additional time for 80% damage. This was a legendary, right? And then for Prot, if Whirlwind or Revenge hits 3 or more enemies, it hits them 1 additional time for 75% damage. Okay. So now we have Sharpened Blades. While using two-handed swords or axes, your critical damage is increased by 20%, and your execute has a 10% increased crit chance. So, Frenzied Flurry must be the, like, Fury version of Sharpened Blades? Because you probably won't be able to take both of those, right? Like, you probably won't be able to take that and Impale. Because, I mean, if you could stack just massive crit damage, if you could take all those. Frenzied Flurry, Impale, and Sharpened Blades? There's no way. Yeah, I also sort of feel like if it's talking about swords and axes, maybe you can't wear maces. I wonder. So you might have to spec into Shattering Throw. You can spec into Signet of Tormented Kings, which is currently activating Bladestorm Wreck or Avatar, randomly cast one of the other two abilities at reduced effectiveness, which usually just means like less time, like less duration of the ability. Siphoning Strikes just straight increases Leech by 4%. That'd be kind of fun as a warrior, have some Leech. That'd be cool. Shattering does not remove immunities. Interesting. Yeah, it's currently saying that doesn't remove immunities. Good call. Good call. Yeah, it does more damage to absorb shields, but does not remove immunities. Interesting. That's what it says. May or may not be actually how it is, right? Keep that in mind. So, yeah. Spell Reflection. So Prot gets the reduced damage taken. Arms and Fury. Raise your weapon and reflect spells cast on you and reducing your magical damage taken by 25%. Is it the same thing? Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, makes you take less magical damage, or until you reflect. 5 seconds or you reflect. So Storm of Steel makes Ravager last 30% longer. It also makes it so that whenever an enemy dies during Bladestorm, it extends its duration by a certain amount. Swift Strikes increases your haste by 2%. So Thunderclap, is that something that is a talent, huh? Blasts all enemies and, reduces their movement speed. Wait, is it movement speed? By 20%? Interesting. Titanic Throw. Kind of like Heroic Throw. Yeah. Wait, it deals damage to whatever your target is and 5 nearby enemies, so it's like a threat tool. Two-handed weapon specialization increases your damage dealt with two-handed weapons by 5%, and Valor in Victory increases versatility by 2%. Interesting. Here's one of those targeted ads for my sponsor Legion. Shout out to our sponsor Legion. Use code Bajheera for 20% off your first order. And double rewards points every time after that. Shoutouts to him. That's funny. That's funny. Demolition could be the new name for immune breaks. Yeah, Demolition is also the talent that makes it do more damage, or it makes it a shorter cooldown. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so here are the speculated arms warrior talents in particular. Barbaric Training would make damage of Slam and Whirlwind increase by 25%. Okay. Bloodborne, damage of Deep Wounds, Rend, and Thunderous Roars bleed effects increase by 15%. Okay. We don't know what Thunderous Roar is yet, do we? Anyway. Bloodletting is Deep Wounds, Rend, and Thunderous Roar last longer. So you can make the damage hot, like arms is like going to be a big bleed spec if you wanted to, I guess, huh? While using two-handed maces or pole arms, the damage and duration of claw smash is increased by 30%. Wow. So you do still have access to maces, and it actually has like a build associated with it. Thanks, Banana, as well for that prime. We'll hit you with the flex in a minute. We're going to keep going through all these real quick. So Exhilarating Blows. Mortal Strike has a 20% chance to instantly reset its own cooldown. Okay, that's kind of cool. That feels good, generally. It's not quite as good as Mortal Combo. Still pretty cool, though. They're at least bringing back talents that work with certain weapons, which is kind of like a weapon spec thing, right? Fatality. Your Mortal Strike abilities against enemies above 30% health have a very high chance to apply Fatality. When an enemy falls below 30% health, your next execute inflicts like an additional 100% of attack power physical damage per stack. Holy crap. That's actually nuts, isn't it? Per stack? How many stacks can you get? Every Mortal Strike, when enemies have more than 30% health, has a high chance to apply Fatality. The enemy drops below and you annihilate them with a gigantic execute. That's sick. That is awesome. So fueled by violence, you are healed for 30% of the damage dealt by deep wounds. Probably not an arms thing, but 30% is kind of a lot. Improves sweeping strikes. Sweeping strikes last 15% longer. That's pretty cool. They did put Merciless Bone Grinder in here. When Bladestorm ends, Whirlwind and Cleave deal extra damage. And they have Sinful Surge in here. Interesting. Execute extends the duration of Colossus Smash. Very cool. Interesting. So the coolest thing for me is Fatality. Blunt Instruments also sounds pretty sick. 30% increased duration on Colossus Smash, and then you have these bleed, the Bloodborne and Bloodletting combo. I wonder how many of those you can take. Like you could do like Bloodborne, Bloodletting, and then fueled by violence for like huge damage bleeds, long-lasting bleeds, bleeds that heal you, and then you could be doing all that with Colossus Smash. They all deal even more damage for a longer period of time using a mace. Very interesting. That sounds pretty cool. I like things like this accelerating blows where you press Mortal Strike and it's like, oh, it lights up. I get to press it again. That's pretty cool. Well, it's not No More Swords, right? Because if you scroll up, you can also see the fact that you get two-handed swords or axes makes your critical damage increase by 100%. Your execute has a 100% crit chance. 100% increased crit chance. That's a difference. And Sharpened Blades, too. While using two-handed swords or axes, your critical damage is increased by 20%. And your execute has a 10% increased crit chance, right? So there's things that interact with swords and axes, but there's also one that interacts with mace, so... Interesting. Is that music too loud, by the way? You guys good? Not too loud. Alright, so here's Fury Warrior talents. Speculated. Cadence of Fujita. Bloodthirst increases your haste by 1% for 12 seconds, stack up to 5 times. So 5% haste ain't that much. Cold Steel Hot Blood. That's cool. They're bringing Cold Steel Hot Blood back. That was a really fun mechanic, I thought. Bloodthirst critical strikes generate 4 additional rage and inflict a gushing wound that leeches a certain amount of health over 6 seconds. That's very cool. I liked Cold Steel Hot Blood. Having Dots as Fury felt really fun in PvE. And it'd probably be even better for PvP, right? Because now Fury is actually pretty good in Shadowlands right now. And maybe it continues to be good in Dragonlands too. Okay, so Deafening Crash increases Siegebreaker's damage by 30% and duration by 3%. Interesting, so makes Siegebreaker a little bit more of a damage threat. Depths of Insanity, which is a conduit, makes Recklessness last 30% longer. Cool. Focus in Chaos. Your auto attacks have no penalty to hit from dual wielding during Enrage. That's actually kind of a big deal, don't you think? Your auto attacks are guaranteed to hit during Enrage. It's kind of a lot, and that's just going to give you that much more rage during Enrage too. That's pretty nice. Yeah, it's a lot of extra damage. I feel like that's a little bit that might be better than people think. Bloodthirst damage increased by 30%, not bad. Raging Blow has 2 charges, has a 20% chance to instantly reset its own cooldown. That's nice. Improved Rampage. Rampage causes you to become enraged, and Rampage damage increased by 20%. So is that suggesting that it won't make you enraged when you Rampage? That'd be weird. Invigorating Fury. Enraged regen lasts 25% longer. I wonder if those are the kind of things that you can choose them all, right? Because a lot of times with talents, I'm kind of used to having to choose like one of the good ones, right? But because this is part of a talent tree, it may be the situation where you can actually pick all of them, right? So we'll see. Invigorating Fury and Enraged regen lasts longer. Juggernaut. Execute increases damage dealt by Execute by 3% for 8 seconds, stack up 99 times, so that's fun in PvE and not always that good in PvP, but I mean, you could take it, right? You could take it. Okay, so Pulverize. They're really trying to make Onslaught a thing. It extends the duration of Enrage by 4,000 seconds. Yeah, that would do it. And generates more rage. Obviously, those numbers are not right. Yeah, I mean, if they want to buff Onslaught, yeah, that would do it. That would do it. 4,000 seconds? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's probably more like 4,000 milliseconds, yeah. Yeah, that'd be funny. Okay, and then Raging Armaments. Raging Blow gains an additional charge. and Vicious Contempt. Bloodthirst deals 18% increased damage to enemies who are below 35% health. That makes the Conduit, as it currently stands, like very powerful. If this is only 18% and it's a talent, that's interesting. So here are the prot ones, if you guys care. Your auto attack. I'm always like prot. Your auto attacks deal an additional percent of attack power as physical damage, and you have a 20% chance to reset the remaining cooldown and Shield Slam just with auto attacking. That's cool. Armor to the Teeth. You gain strength equal to 10% of your armor value. Shield Block with improved Shield Block would have 2 charges. Strategist, which is Devastate, Thunderclap, Revenge, and X, you have a 30% chance to reset the remaining cooldown Shield Slam. So your auto attacks can reset Shield Slam, and your abilities can reset Shield Slam. Interesting. The Wall. Shield Slam generates an additional 5 rage and reduces the remaining cooldown of Shield Wall by 5 seconds. Unbreakable Will is cool. A Shield Wall lasts 1 additional charge and grants 50% of its effect to all party members. That's cool. And Last Stand with Unnerving Focus increases your rage generation by 30%. Okay, cool. So they don't have the talent trees yet. These are Shadowlands talent trees. Okay. So let's have a look. These are not new. But that's okay. So, Die by the Sword, the cooldown is down to 2 minutes, which we know. They are changing the scaling of Mortal Strike to go up. Overpower, it looks like it might be a little bit different. No, they just changed the level, the level requirement for that one. It can stack up to 2 times all the time though. That's cool. Avatar gives you 30 rage instead of 20. Deadly Calm only reduces the rage cost of your next 4 abilities. Doesn't give you more rage. Let's see. Rend doesn't make the enemies take increased critical strike damage. Okay. Skull Splitter, they made it do more damage. They made it have a longer cooldown. And Stormbolt does a teeny bit more damage. So for Fury, once again, these are all like data mined. They're all just whatever. Anything for us? That's what we're reading right now. Go through that. And Mosbius, thanks for the Prime, and Grid, thanks for the Prime. I have the alerts off for the just recording this real quick. But yeah, thank you guys. So Dragon Roar. I'm trying to see what happens. It looks like it's the same thing. It just generates 20 rage. Or does like the AoE. Crits for 3 times normal damage. Does less damage to secondary targets. Frothing Berserker. Any ability that costs rage, which is only Rampage? Or a Slam? Gets refunded for 20% of the rage spent. So that seems like it's actually a little bit worse for Rampage, right? Onslaught, they're buffing the damage of Onslaught a little bit, and it generates 25 rage instead of 15 rage. Siegebreaker breaks enemies' defenses, dealing a little bit extra damage than it used to. Yeah, so it's just increasing the AP scaling from 0.8 to 1.1. Cool. Demo Shout is gonna make people deal 25% less damage instead of 15. Last Stand is a 2-minute cooldown, which I believe it is right now. Shockwave is getting scaled way better. It's doing 40% of your attack power rather than 8.2%. That's cool. And you can't Dragon Roar as prot anymore, apparently. So Bolster, that doesn't really seem right. Last Stand's cooldown is reduced by 10 seconds instead of a minute, but maybe that's what it is. Avatar increased the damage of Thunderclap by 50% rather than 30%. Okay. Charge is dealing a teeny bit more damage, generates 20 rage instead of 10. That's cool. Challenging Shout is going to be a 2-minute cooldown. That's cool. Leap is dealing a little bit more damage. For everybody? Ignore Pain is going to be a 1-second cooldown now? Instead of 12 seconds, it's 1 second? Okay, interesting. Interesting. Mid talent 1 minute and 10 seconds, right? So that if it's taking a minute off of 3 minutes, that's one thing. But it's taking a minute off of 2 minutes, that makes more sense. Yeah. Good to see you, Flex. Thanks for the 70 months, man. Holy crap. Yeah, same as Pra. It's going to be a 1-second cooldown. That's interesting. And then Shield Slam generates a little bit more rage. Okay, so that's pretty much what we're looking at for the warrior stuff. Now this is all data mining, so we'll see how it goes. I feel like the highlights for me are definitely arms. I like Cold Steel Hot Blood for Fury. I feel like the improved Raging Blow and Rampage stuff, it's just making the abilities, using a talent to make the abilities kind of work the way they work now. I'm not really a big fan of Onslaught, but they really want to try to make Onslaught a thing. So I bet Fury, at least right now, looks like it's kind of the same. But Arms is going to be like back to like big bleeds, maybe. Which is not really a bad thing. It's like, it's big bleeds and like stacking Mortal Strike to really crunch somebody as soon as they get low. Yeah. Yeah, bleed spec, and then big executes. I'm not really against that. Not really against that. That's pretty cool, though. That's what we're looking at right now. I mean, obviously, whenever we can like get in there and they have like the new warrior talent trees, we'll definitely check that out. But that's what we're looking at right now. We're gonna get into some Drakthir, and we could look at other like class talent trees at some point. But mostly just wanted to get that warrior thing going and then dig into some actual Dragonflight Alpha. So let's get to it. Warrior stuff looks pretty cool. I'm excited to see more on the way, because once again, when it's data mining, stuff is left out, stuff is unclear. You're not sure where things fit in, but still like a pretty cool look at some of this stuff. I think Arms is looking more interesting right now than Fury. Very excited to try some of that stuff out. Like higher damage, longer lasting bleeds that heal you is kind of an interesting combo. We'll see if you can even do all that, but all in all, pretty cool. Thanks, Wowhead.